Ready for us now? I just did what it's about time. I'll call the order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We didn't have anybody sign up to speak, did we, Vicki? Thank you. I'll move on to approval of the minutes held December 2nd, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I
Second.
have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. Now do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. There were no new conflicts of interest presented. I'll move on to approval of the consent agenda, items 7A through D. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is approved. Now to the reports of the president. First, academic affairs report. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Mickelson, members of the board. My name is Benjamin Valdez, I'm Vice President for Academic Affairs at Southeast Tech.
Turn your mic.
Your mic might not be on.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Looks like, okay. Southeast Tech would like to propose the addition of a new academic degree program. We have been working with Avera McKinnon Hospital and University Health Center on the development of an Associate of Applied Science in Respiratory Therapy. This would be the only associate program in South Dakota. There is one other at the baccalaureate level now at SDSU. In working with Avera and also having input from Sanford, especially now with the pandemic, there is a huge need for respiratory therapists. We have been also working with KHEB, which is our accreditation body for all of our healthcare programs. And they are going through the process of getting their program accredited, which should be later this year, so that they can actually programmatically accredit. So at this point, we have finalized the design of an Associate of Applied Science in Respiratory Therapists, and we'd like to move forward and ask for approval of that program so that we can start offering and enrolling students this fall come the August start. Any questions?
No, thanks once again for responding to needs in our community. Do I have a motion to acknowledge the academic affairs report and approve Southeast Tech's request to offer an Associate of Applied Science and Respiratory Therapists?
So moved.
Second.
And approve the expansion of the medical assisting diploma to Huron as well. Thank you. A motion and a second on those acknowledgements and motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. Thank you, Bethany. Now to the fall 2020 overview.
Good afternoon. Bob Griggs, President of Southeast Tech. What we thought we'd do today, in that we are beginning January and we have faculty back on our campus for the first time since the Christmas holiday, would give you a recap of the fall semester and then also provide an overview of some of the initiatives that we are going to take on for the spring 21 semester that is going to start next Monday for us. And with that, I thought I would have Dr. Valdez also provide some comments as we go through a few slides. We were able to provide a similar presentation to area legislators earlier in December, right prior to the Christmas break. And I know some of you have been at our sector breakfast meetings, our area legislative sector breakfasts, and we take that opportunity to update them on initiatives and kind of give them an overview of how we're doing at Southeast and what issues are coming forward. And we were not able to do that because of COVID, obviously, but we did take the opportunity to provide a Microsoft Teams meeting. We had 13 area representatives that joined us, and so we thought that was informative for them. We'd provide more or less the same presentation for you here today to give you, again, that same recap and then also look down the road a little bit into the spring semester. So as a recap, and as we've shared before, as far as our fall numbers, we ended up 1% up in degree-seeking students, which was really outstanding, and I think speaks to the great job that our enrollment management team, led by Megan Fisher, and our admissions office, financial aid folks, all of those individuals did in recruiting and bringing in, I think, a pretty strong fall class, even despite, a national pandemic. Just as a reference, some information that was recently posted by the National Student Clearinghouse is that two-year institutions on average across the country were 9.5% down in enrollment. So I thought that was really outstanding, and I think most of the technical institutes were either flat or slightly down. So I think overall we were pretty pleased with that number. We're in the middle of still recruiting for the spring semester. We're up in headcount. I think we just did an enrollment run this morning, and we were up 112 students or so at the same date last year, but down slightly in credits. And we see that, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of these changing demographics that we see at Southeast Tech, because I think that's one of the things that the campus is going to be faced with now going forward. I don't see that situation changing. And so how are we going to change and adapt to what are some fairly striking changes in terms of students and enrollment patterns and so forth. What most significant of those is that this fall, 48% of our students were part-time, and they're taking about 30% of our credits. So that number is striking to me personally, because when I started about 5 years ago now, it was that number was about 34% part-time, which is about a normal number, I would say, that you would see. And sometimes in larger metropolitan areas, that number is a bit higher, but that number has consistently, risen during my time here, and now we're at 50% of our students are part-time. That is a challenge, and you can look at any higher education literature, research that's out there, and it will tell you that it's harder to maintain or retain those students to help them graduate and so forth, because many of them are non-traditional in a sense, maybe a little older, maybe changing jobs, careers, maybe transferring in from a different institution. But if they're part-time, they obviously have other things that are going on in their life that are equally important, and sometimes that's jobs, family commitments, and so forth. And so I think that's going to be one of the challenges for Southeast going forward, and with academics in particular, is how do we meet the need of those part-time students? And what are we going to do to try to be as flexible as we can? Another change has been the growth, and you can see some of it in the next bulleted item, the growing minority student population that we have at Southeast Tech. That is absolutely a critical area for us in terms of it's something that we have seen grow over time, but I don't think we have done anything yet that what I would label as strategic in terms of a comprehensive effort to really try to recruit and retain minority students. And as you all are obviously aware, in the Sioux Falls School District, the diversity, the non-white population student number is growing continually. The mayor in the paper just recently in the Argus talked about his vision for a more inclusive Sioux Falls. Southeast Tech, we want to be part of that vision. We need to be part of that vision, because I think we're a pathway for a lot of those students into employment. So we take that as a very serious responsibility, and Benjamin and I are going to talk about some initiatives going into the spring that we just shared this morning with our campus as well. 38% of our students are Pell eligible. Those are students that are financially, in many circumstances, needing financial aid to attend higher education. And so that number, surprisingly, is a number that is falling, that we saw fall this semester. And that to me was a bit striking as well, because obviously with COVID and the financial challenges, but it's also something that we have found nationally that according to some recent research in the Chronicle of Higher Education, some other publications, that number is falling nationally as well. And the reason for that is the financial hardships that many of our students face are so severe, they don't have the option to continue to go on to school. So they said the Pell number nationally is actually dropping, and that's something that we would like to see turn around and provide, obviously, more opportunities for those students as well. A more positive number is that 14% of our students are from out of state. That number's up slightly from past years. Just to give you a specific total, it's about 300 students coming in from out of state, mainly from Minnesota, Iowa, I think are the main, a few from North Dakota, maybe a few from Nebraska, and then the scattering from some other states. But a lot of them are in healthcare, as you can maybe expect, in that we have a number of specialized programs in healthcare that attract students from different locations. And then a number that did fall this fall, it was dual credit, and that was down, it was up at 11% previous fall and down to 9% now this fall. And we've talked about the challenge I think a lot of our dual credit students had also. Probably the most positive number that I could talk to you about today, besides just the enrollment, is retention. And really proud to say, we talked about that this morning with our staff, and said, retention isn't just one person's job. It's not just the faculty's responsibility. It's not just the student success counselor's responsibility. It's the responsibility, frankly, of all of us. The custodians, everybody else on campus contribute to that. And so this is an increase. We went up from 72% to 76% this fall, which was really great to see. So that number is headed in the right direction. A little concerned about COVID and potentially how that may impact us now from fall of 20 to fall of 21. But we're going to do all we can, and I think again, just speaks to the quality job that our faculty do, not only in the classroom but outside of the classroom. I think faculty are your #1 retention tool. And if those students do a good job in the classroom, have a good experience with those faculty, they tend to hang around, and many of them finish their programs. And to see a 4% jump in 1 year was really positive. So our student success counselors, also that initiative's been around for about 10 years now, and it's proven to be very, very successful. And some of those individuals have been here in front of you all talking about a number of those different strategies also. Another very positive number that's just fresh off the press here, so to speak, is our 2020 graduates, how they're doing. And right now, our information is that they had a 98% placement rate for our 2020 spring graduates from last spring. So again, very, very strong number. Historically, we'd like to be in that 96, 97% range. And so 98% placements, again, a very strong number. And build the quota. One of the things that I think I kind of use it as a metric for us to see how we're doing in terms of industry partnerships. And we've had some great success there with the help of our foundation board, and their involvement to have our record number of 95 industry-sponsored scholarships this year. Of course, this afternoon we had some great news from Governor Noem and Dana Dykhouse from First Premier about the extension of the Build Dakota scholarship moving forward. So in case you haven't heard, it's going to be extended now for 5 additional years. $2 million will be coming from the Denny Sanford, a Sanford contribution, $2 million from the state of South Dakota, $2 million from industry contribution, and that's the industry sponsorship that you see represented through that 95 industry sponsors paying half of those student scholarships at Southeast Tech, or at least for our 95 students there. And then the last part, what was it? The
Endowment.
Endowment, yes. The South Dakota Endowment Community Fund has done very, very well, thanks to Governor Dugard and that initial investment on the part of the state. And that's repaying at the rate of now about a $2 million contribution per year. So with that, it looks like we'd have about $8 million, per year to distribute, which is just outstanding. And again, it's something that I think having this, it is rare where you can make the comment that receiving a scholarship can be life-changing. I think in this instance, for many of those students, you can absolutely, they will tell you that it is, in fact, a life-changing opportunity for many of them. perhaps I think we're maybe most proud of, at least during my time at Southeast Tech, as we're kind of doing this recap here of the fall and really a lot of the good work that's been done, has been a lot of the partnerships and collaborations. And I'm going to turn it over to Benjamin to talk a lot about some of these.
Thank you, President Griggs. Well, we really value the input from our community and our industry partners. And I think that is reflected in our student placement rate. They see that the graduates that Southeast Tech is producing, our product is a strong product. Our students are able to, upon graduation, enter the workforce and be productive. And by working with industry, we're able to make sure we're being responsive to their needs. You hear a lot of times in education, and especially higher education, move at the rate of molasses. Well, this integration with working with industry allows us to be a little bit more nimble when we see changes. Challenge always have is just funding, being able to get always the newest technology and the newest equipment. But I think there's a lot of things that we can do because of our partnerships. Our partnerships allow us to also come up with solutions when we have issues like that. A good example is our partnership with Vicor and the teleconstruction program. We don't have funds to build a tower program facility on campus. Partnering with Vicor allows us to send our students to their facility and utilize their facility for those specific courses. We're also doing that in our trades program, working very close with the city of Sioux Falls and Habitat for Humanity. Our students are able to go out and actually get, as part of a construction program, renovate and build homes, what they're wanting to do. The nice part about these type of partnerships is these students don't just say, hey, I've studied this, I've learned it, I read about it in a book, I may have done a small little project. They are actually building a portfolio to show an employer, look what I've done. I've been on this construction site, I helped renovate this home, and you can see the quality of my work and what I can do. So it really brings that together. Our Vet Tech program, we're really excited. The construction on that facility finished middle of December, so they're all moved in. We're excited to have students physically in that space come next week. But next semester in fall, we have the large animal component and our partnership with McCrossing Boys Ranch, where students will be able to go physically there to McCrossing Boys Ranch and work with the large animals and get that experience, that knowledge, and that training on site. So working with our partners is important, and we're always trying to be very outgoing and trying to listen to what they have to say. I wish we could really take everything our industry wants, but sometimes we just can't, and we work with them to get them to understand that. We also want to make sure that we're staying focused on the workforce and the future of the workforce. We have industry. Amazon's now coming here. How are we going to integrate and work with Amazon? How do we ensure that our students and our graduates will have a place there? What are they and that means understanding what their needs are going to be. We know some of the things ahead of time, working with the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, working with industry, things like advanced technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, those type of things are coming. So we're already working on trying to figure out what type of programs do we need to do. Do we have an existing program that we need to redesign, retool? So really trying to be, have some foresight on where we're going and what we're doing with those programs and how we're going to really meet the needs of industry. Recognitions and honors. This, we get to really stand up proud and be excited about what we're doing. Probably the number one thing on this slide is our ranking with the Brookings Institute. That review by the Brookings Institute said that Southeast Tech ranked number 8 in upward mobility of 596 two-year colleges. Upward economic mobility. And when you talk within higher ed, there's a lot of disparity against two-year institutions. Well, you're just getting introductory information. You really aren't able to really move forward and be successful. This shows that the programs, the focus that we have at Southeast Tech and how we try to be very strategic, allows students to enter programs where they can grow and they have the opportunity for future advancement. And being ranked number 8 out of 596 two-year institutions really shows our students are moving forward and are taking on greater responsibilities. I believe Mr. Dykehouse this morning said he spoke with a welding student that graduated from Southeast Tech several years back. He saw her and asked her, "How's your welding job?" And she said, "I'm not welding anymore." And he said, "I was a little kind of blown away. Well, why aren't you welding?" She said, "Because I'm now a welding supervisor. I'm now supervising 6 additional welders." Again, that ability to move forward, that our program really provides that well-rounded student. The Aspen Institute, we, again, we're ranked in the top 150 of two-year institutions nationally by the Aspen Institution. We're going to continue. I think when you look at our next round, who we can apply here in a couple of years, if we continue with our trajectory with maintaining students and with our retention numbers, and we focus on that, get those up. We work to look at how do we integrate working with minority students, first-generation students, low-income students. How do we get them into the system? How do we get them moving forward in a career path? It really will provide the opportunity that we can hopefully walk away with an Aspen prize down the road. Our nursing program, I think, is one of our biggest strengths and something that I know we're very, very proud of. Our nursing program ranked, our LPN program ranked number 2 in the Midwest. And our LPN program our RN program was one of the best nursing programs as well, and ranked very high in South Dakota. So how do we integrate all this, and how do we now take it forward by really showing what we can do? And I think being able to talk to parents and get them to understand that this is a good start, a good entry point, and that parents start to see that there are options. So really trying to really focus on these components and how do we help students.
Yeah, I think as we go forward, obviously COVID kind of dominated a lot of the discussion for us since the beginning of last spring, really. Over the summer, we put together a COVID task force. It started in last May, and developed the different strategies that you see implemented here. And I know the school district has done similar things at all of your schools as well. These strategies really helped, I think, minimize the spread, at least on campus, because operating in Sioux Falls, obviously, we're in one of the higher infection areas. And even with that, I think our numbers here will give you a indication of how we did overall. And so you can look at those in terms of the dark blue number there is the number of positive students. So if you remember early on in the fall, for transparency, we put up a COVID dashboard. Not all the campuses did that. I think only Mitchell Tech and Southeast, at least among the technical colleges, provided that. And I think we felt it was important as we wanted our staff to know how we were doing. And so that was a number that was the dashboard's on our website that was checked every day, sometimes I think multiple times a day by some of our staff there that were concerned about it, especially early on in August and September. And so you can see the dark blue again, positive students, and then positive employees, and then also students in quarantine and employees in quarantine. Now that was a number we shared with the state legislators, and we also talked a little bit about the equipment there. The Halo Mister is on the bottom right-hand corner. We purchased a couple of those units, I think they're about $12,000 to $14,000 a piece. But when we did have a case where a student was positive or a staff member was positive in an office, we would quarantine that area and then put a Halo Mister in there. And it's the same type of sterilization equipment, I think, that many hospitals use in that regard. And so works pretty quickly. They would put it in there for just about an hour, and then they'd have to vacate the premises for a couple hours. And depending on the size of the room, really depended on the length of time there. But I think that was something that was important. You've been out to campus, so you've seen all of the temperature kiosks, and I think those worked pretty well for us. So, you know, all in all, those are, I think, the numbers. are pretty low. And I thought what was interesting to me was one of the comments from the area legislators, and they looked at that and they said, wow, it looks like you've had a lot of cases. And then we had another legislator that said, can you tell me how many students you have roughly on campus then on a particular day? So we thought, well, we better do another graph that gives you maybe a better idea, then puts that more in a realistic measure. And so that's, you can see we have anywhere from about 16 to 1,800 students on campus in a particular day, and a couple hundred, faculty and staff. So we have about 2,400, just short of 2,500 students total. But a lot of those students are online as well and never set foot on campus. So if we use that 2,000 number as sort of a metric, you can kind of see overall we're less than 1% in terms of an infection rate, and even in quarantine. But we did have a bit of a spike there. You can see it right before Thanksgiving and so forth. I honestly think, all of those precautions, wearing face masks, I know it's something that none of us are very excited about, but I think that has made a difference for us on campus. One of the best things, I know I mentioned this previously, but I think was establishing our contact tracing team. We did that in addition to, certainly the State Department of Health was very helpful in their contact tracing assistance, but having a team on campus, and we started with Christy Vorthrams. Poor Christy, she had that responsibility all herself, and as the volume of calls came in, a lot of those were just information requests. We quickly understood we needed to get her some help, and so Christy's our registrar and already has a full-time job, and taking on that responsibility, she did nights and weekends and for a period of time there, and then we eventually added, I think, 4 more people into that mix, and now we have about 8 individuals that are available to provide that assistance should that be required. And so that team goes through in terms of a student calling in, what their resources are available to them, what actions they should take, and so forth. And I really have been impressed. All of these numbers are self-reported numbers. And again, I'm very, very impressed that the students continue to do the honorable thing in terms of indicating when they in fact did have a temperature or did have symptoms and so forth, and reporting them. And I think one of the things that we talked about this morning, again, Benjamin really expressed gratitude. Nobody had more of their world turned upside down than our faculty as a result of COVID, and that started last spring. And so these were just some items and examples of what the faculty went through in terms of adjusting and working through the COVID situation.
Our faculty at Southeast Tech, I cannot express how wonderful they are. They were extremely open to learning new technology, learning new pedagogy, and implementing a new way of learning and teaching with our students. And they embraced it. And the funny part is, some of them I've talked to, and they said, I never thought I'd ever use a computer and teach with a computer in class, some of our trades programs. And here they're now doing that. And they're seeing that there's new ways to engage students and new ways to really be able to work with our students and get them from point A to point B. Our faculty went way above and beyond. Faculty, if they were in quarantine because of the technology, they were able to stay in contact with students. If they weren't ill, they were still teaching from home. They were fine, they could do it, and they were still online, engaged with students, delivering that content, working with students. Students on the same side, if they were out because they weren't feeling well or they had tested positive or were in quarantine, they had that ability to stay engaged with the campus, stay engaged with their faculty. I have to really extend a huge gratitude to Eric Van Lacken and our entire IT team. Without their support and without their dedication and answering a bazillion and one goofy questions, we wouldn't have been able to be here. But our faculty did a phenomenal job. They wore the PPE, they went in, they worked with students, they explained to students, they enforced wearing PPE, they set up different arrangements for studying groups and really trying to work with students and ensure that they could be successful. Without that type of focus, without that type of dedication by our faculty, we would not have been on campus all semester long. We made it all the way to the Thanksgiving break. We only had to do the last 2 weeks remote, which we had been planning to begin with, and it just worked out great. Our students stayed engaged. I think that's part of the reason we've seen such a high, one of the things our students see with retention and why they see that our faculty are invested in them, that they're engaged, and that this is a quality program that they're going through.
Thanks. And just as our faculty, obviously the students, support staff, these are some of the specifics in terms of our support staff and their involvement. The COVID task force I mentioned already, and all the good work. We started meeting in May. We met in May and June and July and August developing that COVID plan. I think that served us very, very well as a blueprint in terms of strategies for going forward. The contact tracing team I mentioned. Our web developers, Jennifer Lambley and Carmen Landhaus, have done an outstanding job keeping that information current. If you've been on our site, there's a lot of information about COVID-19 and how to respond and the campus's response to that. Admissions and financial aid, they had their world turned upside down as well in terms of the normal way that they would do recruiting. Mandy Fry is our director of admissions, and she has a great staff, Joe Weber, Amanda Schutte, Shannon Firth, Scott Dorman, Ashley Radishak. Those individuals all have done a tremendous job moving from what is typically a face-to-face, in-person opportunity to sit down and talk with students or attend college fairs or campus visit days. All of that now remote or shifted to a virtual type of format. So they've done a great job. The marketing office, that was led by Megan Fisher, and Jennifer Lambley's our marketing lead. And again, the website's been totally revamped. They put up a live interactive campus map for campus tours. There's really a lot of new material that's up on that website, and we're hoping that that obviously pays off as the recruiting strategies for next fall have all been changed as well. And then virtual graduation, President Mickelson has participated in those graduation ceremonies, sharing some positive comments, for our graduates as well. But that doesn't happen without a lot of work. And Christy Vorthrum's our registrar, and Jackie Danielson, the assistant registrar. They clearly led that effort. The student success counselors, again, all of those individuals did a tremendous job with the different meetings. SGA, as an example, our Student Government Association, Chelsea Reich and Elizabeth Harder. I think both of them have been here and talked with you at different times about some of their good work. Paula Hawks with our job fairs and moving all those now to a virtual type of format as well. So everybody's been challenged and I think has tried to do their best in terms of responding to that challenge. Another area and that we have really seen a greater use of, and that's in our tutoring, disability services and counseling services. And Nicole McMillan was just here talking with you about the increase in counseling cases, the largest number of counseling cases that we've ever seen in our history. Steve Herr, the disability services coordinator, the same thing there. The tutoring, the importance of tutoring, especially when there's hybrid courses, is increased. And so Tammy Kerfeld has done a good job there. Our testing center, a lot of this was remote now, and just as an example, we did a quick inventory from August to December tally, and we had 6,963 students that were in taking tests, and they were not always taking just one test. Sometimes there were multiple tests. So that was may have been one of the busiest offices, I think, on our campus with all the great job that Karen Winter did there in leading that effort. Another group that's not up there is our housing staff, and I was just talking today to Andy Van Zanten, our director of housing, and he was talking about the fall semester. And one of the things, if you remember, was that we reserved a couple of the rooms for COVID quarantine isolation space, and provided the opportunity for students to go home if they wanted to, but to also stay if they needed to. And Andy talked about in terms of, they did have positive cases. He said the best thing they did by far was reserving those rooms, because said he was very surprised at all of the students that elected to stay on campus as opposed to, go home. So those students needed a huge amount of help in terms of just how do you get and wash clothes and different things that they just normally, would be interacting with other students. And so Andy, Kim Furstenberg, and Tara Carruthers, that whole group did an outstanding job. So I wanted to make sure to mention them with you all today because, again, outstanding effort in terms of responding to some very, very difficult circumstances. Our custodians have been in the middle of this fight since the beginning. Dan Witham and Dave Arnoldy, our night supervisor, and their whole crew, again, have done a great job. Our foundation office, Stephen Williamson, Cindy Bartlett, they've continued to try to fundraise. Benjamin just mentioned IT, and that's another area. I don't think there's been, I brought Eric a number of challenges. I don't think there's been one time where he has said no to something that we were proposing. And that's pretty incredible because I used to be in his role at another campus, and I liked saying no, Eric. I think that was, anyway, so he's been extremely positive, and that filters down, and it's a can-do attitude, and I think we have seen that across campus. Some other campus highlights. Benjamin, you want to talk about DMS and LPN, just some recent accreditation visits?
Yes, one of the, again, all of our healthcare programs have chromatic accreditation. So we have the regional accreditation through the Higher Learning Commission, and we're going through that self-study right now for a review here in 2023. But a lot of our individual programs also have then very specific accreditation that really helps ensure that they're really meeting the needs of industry and that it's a quality program. Just last month, our sonography program, the diagnostic medical sonography program, went through their reaccreditation process, and they went through that with flying colors. One minor little technical issue that they found, we're able to correct that very quick, nothing major, and we're reaccredited with that program. In addition, our LPN program went through their reaccreditation through the South Dakota Board of Nursing with a complete visit, review. Again, faculty did a knockout job. The faculty just have worn so many hats this last semester, and our LPN program is again reaccredited by the South Dakota Board of Nursing. And I've now given our LPN program the challenge that I want them to have ASIN accreditation, which is the chromatic accreditation, and get that process running, and without hesitation. They've accepted that challenge, and they are now working in conjunction with our RN program, which is ASIN accredited, to have accreditation within the next few years. So we'll hopefully have a self-study to go through there and get that up and running. Can we talk about the talent draft day? One of the things we did is we worked with the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. This is going to be their second year for their talent draft day. And it was supposed to be an offsite event, and they were going to have employers and some schools, and we were going to do some presentations. Well, we had this COVID thing that just keeps popping up and turning things upside down. And at the last minute, literally within a couple weeks of the actual event, we received a call and said, hey, we just can't do this offsite. How can we do a remote? And we said, fine, we'll figure this out. And they actually set up and brought out a video crew, and we had programs highlighted, and they went through different programs. And the programs and students and faculty talked about the programs, they highlighted what they were doing, and they really went above and beyond to really get that up and running, and we did it in just a couple of weeks. What was really interesting with that, and I don't have all the numbers, but this was broadcast virtually to a lot of high schools, not only in South Dakota, but we found out from the Development Foundation that we had a lot of students outside of South Dakota from other colleges, universities, other high schools, watching and participating and seeing what Southeast Tech is doing and highlighted the programs that we have done. So we're hoping that this turns out to also be a very good marketing component. Again, like I said, when you were on campus back in November, you saw close to the end of the dental lab. The dental lab is now up and running. They finished that, and students are working in there. And our vet tech lab renovation, that construction completed, and they'll be again in there next week.
One of the initiatives then as we move forward now into spring 21 is going to be focused on the growing diversity in the community. And we think that's important. And we laid out these initiatives this morning with our campus. These would be intentional strategies that we'd like to bring forward. And again, it starts, I think, on campus with us in terms of cultural awareness, inclusivity training, the focus on improving our academic teaching and learning environment. And that's our faculty. A lot of them, when I've talked with them in terms of what's your main struggle? What's the issue that you, maybe one of the biggest hurdles for you? And they said, obviously, sometimes it's dealing with English as a second language for many of our students. And that is not an easy task and not one that can be quickly solved. But so we want to step back from that, look at some best practices that are out there, see what we can do to hopefully improve the situation for our faculty and our students, most importantly. Removing institutional barriers, that's another one. Where, looking at our practices, where have we built in roadblocks for students? And we had many in terms of just our admission processes that we've tried to remove or minimize over the past couple of years. We're also exploring participation in something called Moonshot for Equity, and I put the website up there. It's a national initiative with the focus to close the equity gap in higher education. And I think it really speaks to me about the needs, I think, somewhat of Sioux Falls in our community, especially in terms of growing diverse population. We've talked before about 30 to 32% of students that don't continue on to any form of post-secondary. And if you look at who those students are, we see a large number of first-generation low-income minority students. And so what are we doing to provide additional help and support for those students? Our answer last year was the Avera Academy and Samford Classroom to Careers. Those pilot projects have been great. I'm happy to report that out of the Samford Classrooms to Careers group, that pilot group that we had last fall and spring at Washington High School, 13 of those students have continued on to Southeastern and were full-time this fall. The Avera Academy, 7 of those Avera Academy students have continued on, a number of others. And again, the focus all along is, yeah, great if you choose Southeast Tech, but look at the opportunities that are in front of you, whether that's a USD or your 4-year path, SDSU, and there are many, but a lot of these students just frankly don't know that opportunity exists or that it's not for them or there's too many challenges with that. So this Moonshot for Equity program, it's a national initiative, and we visited with the University of South Dakota and the Community College for Sioux Falls on the idea to see if they would be interested in exploring a potential application for this. They're looking for 7 regional locations across the country. It's sponsored by EAB, which is a higher education consulting firm that's kind of leading the effort. And all of these groups, they really like the idea of 2-year and 4-year working together to help solve this, because it's a complex issue and it isn't resolved at all without a lot of institutions, and that includes K-12, working with higher education to somewhat hopefully close those gaps. And they recommend there are 15 best practices that they would like to see institutions participating adopt. And so we're looking at the possibility of being able to do that. So we hope to talk with you more about that in the future. Maybe our biggest initiative in that regard would be, or in response to this, would be the hiring of a diversity coordinator. And we're working on a position description. That funding has been made available through the Southeast Tech Foundation and some of the good fundraising efforts they've done there. Last big initiative was just the neighborhood revitalization program, and that's very exciting as well. Benjamin talked about that a little bit in terms of the work with home builders, the city of Sioux Falls, and so forth.
One other thing I did not mention is that we had a trailer donated to us from, drawing a blank, one of our local construction firms provided a trailer, and our students and faculty have gone and have basically gutted that trailer and rebuilt it. It had some structural issues and some other things to it, but our welding program, our construction program, our automotive program, and our collision repair program have all been involved in redoing this trailer. We're going to be, it's almost done. We're going to be doing a graphic design on it and all of that so that it can be out at these construction sites. But that's the type, again, the community involvement where they're helping us provide resources, and that's going to be parked outside of these homes that we're going to be working with the city and the Habitat for Humanity to, market the program, talk about it, but provide a little bit of a mobile classroom and storage facility for equipment and construction supplies. We're hoping that this revitalization program becomes more than just construction. We want to be able to take all of our trade programs there. So our plumbing students are going to be able to go over there and work on the plumbing, electrical students work on the electrical, HVAC students, and our horticulture students go and work on the landscape. Really give them that real world experience and being able to really get that up and running. We also had the opportunity this fall to participate in Upskills. It was an initiative from the governor's office in the South Dakota Department of Labor. When they first approached us with this idea and the 4 technical colleges talked about it, we kind of like, well, okay, we're not going to sure how this is going to work. We're not sure if we're going to have any students. And for Southeast Tech, it was an outstanding program. We had over 36 students just in medical coding and billing. All of the students, the focus of this program was on individuals that had been displaced because of COVID and were not working and were on unemployment, getting them some training. They wanted to be short, 1 semester, or at the most maybe a diploma, 1-year diploma. So we looked at a couple programs that were they also wanted to be online. That was another thing. It had to be online so they could do it remote. They didn't want to have them worry about traveling and all that other expense. That's worked out phenomenal. We had IT programs, some of our networking and computer programming programs, and then our medical coding and billing just was phenomenal and it worked out really good. We're doing it again this spring with them as well. Some of those students have continued forward. Huron Regional Medical Center, we've had the LPN and RN program up there, and they're running really well. They're growing, and we came to you today, and thank you very much. We appreciate approving now medical assisting, working with them, so we're going to be able to move out there and have a larger campus. I wanted to let you know we have submitted the application to the Higher Learning Commission for both Stevens Center, we're going to have the paramedic program of Sanford Stevens Center, which is on Benson and Cliff, just kind of northeast of there, that intersection. And then Huron as additional locations. So Southeast Tech will have additional locations now. The Higher Learning Commission staff and review committee has given their approval for us to have additional locations and are recommending to the Institutional Action Committee, which meets on the 25th of July, for final approval. We will know early February if that's fully approved, but we anticipate no issues and no problems as everything has gone very, very smooth with the Higher Learning Commission. We're also working closely with Yankton. We were approached by RTEC and the Yankton High School District to take programs out there. What can we help? How can we, their biggest concern is, how do we retain students in South Dakota? We're losing students as they're going into Nebraska to Norfolk Community College. And then from there, they're being recruited to Omaha, Lincoln, and elsewhere, and they're not coming back. We're losing our workforce. We're losing students and our families here in South Dakota. So how can we provide educational opportunities there? So we're working with them on what we can do. We're hoping to come and have some proposals for the board earlier or later this year on a location. That Yankton would be a location, and we can start offering some of our programs. Initial thoughts working with RTEC and the district is medical assisting, maybe LPN, and even a law enforcement program down there as well. Again, we're going to continue working with our area high schools. Our area high schools are the backbone of Southeast Tech and what makes us so successful. The Sioux Falls School District working with CTE and how we can integrate more. We've really had some phenomenal opportunities in working with Josh Hall and the staff down there and really provide more dual credit confirmed enrollment options, getting their faculty trained and certifying them as post-secondary faculty so we could do the confirmed enrollment. And as we go through the NACEP accreditation process there, so it's really important for us. But we're also expanding out T. We're all going to be this fall doing construction and welding out there, working with them on that. Brandon, we've taken our EMT course, and now we're expanding with our CNA course out there. Harrisburg, we have construction. They're now talking to us about our automotive program and some of the things they can do out there, and also our CNA and EMT class. And then also West Central and Madison High School, how can we help them as well? And then earlier last year, you approved us to work with the South Dakota Department of Education on this consortium, Perkins Consortium, where we have a full-time staff member who works with area high schools. We're assigned high schools, 17 high schools in the Southeast region to assist them with their Perkins funding because they just don't have the resources, and coming together as one provides more opportunities. That's going wonderful. Those high schools, some of them didn't even really know Southeast Tech existed and what we do, and it's really provided us an opportunity to connect and provide additional opportunities.
Thanks, Benjamin. So that's some of the outreach, obviously, and our students are a key part, I think, of, we want them to be more involved in the community. And these are just some of the initiatives from this past fall semester. Rake the Town, the food drive donation, the Southeast Tech Food Clinic, the Veterans Memorial from Coleman and our collision students, taking that sign into our paint booths, refinishing that, bringing it back out there, getting it set up, Lifescape just for over the Christmas holiday as well. So students heavily involved in the community in a number of different ways, and we'd like to see that opportunity grow. So again, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. There's just a lot to kind of talk about, and a lot of it's fairly new in terms of some of the initiatives, that are underway, and some that we would like to move forward with in terms of the fall 21 spring semester here as we get started. And I'd love to say that everything is fine, COVID's under control, and we're just moving ahead. And I kind of feel like I'm almost hesitant to say that out in public because our numbers actually were very, very good, and but that could change very quickly. And obviously, we have our fingers crossed that that vaccine will be out shortly. Our students have been approached by both Sanford and Avera to be part of a distribution and vaccination plan. So we hope to, as we showed some examples of contributing to the community, I think that will be a real positive, impactful way that, again, Southeast Tech can help out. So we're looking forward to that in the spring. So with that, I guess we would entertain any questions. Thank you.
Well, what a great fall. Everything you guys are doing is just so exciting for the community of Sioux Falls, for our students that come out of the school district, the opportunities that you provide them. So we greatly appreciate all your work. And because we know every new program is a lot more work for you, those part-time students are probably just as much work for you as a full-time student, because you still have all the support services and so forth for them. So thank you for adapting to all that. And we'll do our share to try to push dual credit more in our schools so that we can help with your enrollment and so forth. And we'll keep partnering with you on that. So
I think it's been a great collaboration, and you all set the direction, and I hope I can convey that. I don't know if I can convey that strongly enough in the sense that the outreach opportunities, Huron approached us, Yankton has approached us, and we could easily say, no, we're focused, we're focused on Sioux Falls, in Sioux Falls, and the direction I've gotten from all of you has been, no, you're regional. Your mission is regional, and it's workforce. So if you can do it in a self-sustaining manner, and that's the way that we've approached it with those potential partnerships, collaborations, and so forth. So you've been a very big part of setting the direction, and we hope that will continue, going forward. So thank you.
Yeah, I just think that, especially with today's announcement, and as we continue to look at our students, there's just so many opportunities within the state of South Dakota, especially, for these new needs-based scholarships, but just the educational opportunities and the way that we can get students that additional education without, having them commit years and years of their life to come out and be able to make a really good life for themselves and have advancement opportunities and really something that they enjoy doing. We just need to keep promoting that and helping people to understand, especially here in Sioux Falls, what that opportunity is, not just even for new grads, but for people looking for a change in career too, that they can really commit, 2 years and having a whole nother option available to them to change the direction of their life. So just think we're so fortunate to have so many great programs here in Sioux Falls that can contribute to our community. And so thank you to, your team and all their work. And it isn't easy to come up with new programs. You have to do the relationship building with the hospitals or with the different businesses, and then you have to put together your plan and it has to get approved. I mean, those are all big steps to take. And so to go from an idea to actually launching something in not very much time, it takes a lot of effort, but I certainly think it's going to have a lot of payoff as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You said you had a lot to talk about. There's a lot to be proud of too.
Yeah.
And your enthusiasm, your staff's enthusiasm, I think really has a lot to do with the success over the last couple of years of what we're seeing, the growth and the great programs. And I just think you guys make the difference. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's fragile. I can say that. And it is, at times it feels week to week, to be honest, with COVID. I'm sure an experience you all can relate to. So, I want you to know that we are working very hard, and we will respond and do our very best. And the Sioux Falls School District is an integral part of absolutely everything we're doing. And there's some exciting things that we're just beginning to have conversations about with the school district, and new ways to partner in terms of summer opportunities. And so there's, I think we're, I'd like to think of it as kind of coming up over the top of this hill, and we've been pushing that big boulder for a long time, and you guys are all, well aware of that, and we have a ways to go yet. But I think with these kinds of partnerships and collaborations, I think we can do this all much, much better and easier together than trying to do it off on our own out there by ourselves, which is a formula that never works, in higher ed and in many situations. So of all things, I think I'm the most proud of the partnerships, collaborations, because I do think that's the future of higher ed. And if you don't do that in higher ed, you're not going to be in existence very long. So anyway, again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do I have a motion to acknowledge the fall 2020 overview report?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Could I have the record reflect that we started 10 minutes late so that
Yes.
we're over?
Yeah. And that was our fault.
Thank you.